like that broken road with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's
Good
nothing
morning.
certain.
You are tuned into
Except the curtain that rises to
WSTI.
stay.
This is Lee Marie filling in for U-Turn Laverne on 1 Street Over. So glad you could join us today. Happy spring. Let's start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you in thanksgiving. We are so blessed. Thank you for your protection, your wisdom, your discernment, all the blessings that we enjoy in this county, all the volunteers that are helping, all the nonprofits, all the leaders, everybody just coming together in this amazing county. We ask for your blessing upon today's shows. Take the shows where you want them to go. Bless everyone out there who's listening. If they don't know you yet, Heavenly Father, we pray for their hearts and their minds to be open to you, especially during this Easter season, the most important holiday where you gave your Son so that we could live with you for eternity in heaven. We are so thankful, Lord, and we just dedicate today to you. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen. All right. Chantele, I'm so glad you're here with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So Chantele is my first guest of today, and she is with Critter Fixers, which I guess we had you on a couple years ago when I was filling in, huh?
I think it might have been 2020, maybe 19. I don't know. Laverne was in Mexico. I remember
That's
that.
right. See what happens when she leaves me in charge? I call these fun people that I want to hear from. That's why I love filling in for her.
Well, nobody else wants to hear me drone on about spay and neuter for 30 minutes, so I'm glad to be here.
Oh, now we talked to you about a little bit about you yesterday when we had County Mayor Billy Vogel in.
I saw that,
Did
and
you
thank you to the mayor for giving me a great introduction for today. You just led the way.
That was perfect, yeah. So anyways, today is Wednesday, and of course, all you know that on Wednesdays, this show, immediately after this show at 8 o'clock, we have the Go Show, and that's a show that I do every week, so from 8 to 9. So today's Go Show, Shannon Baumgartner will be coming in, talking more about some biblical foundations of freedom, and so that is what's going to be happening right after this show. Right after Chantele, though, will be City Manager Ryan Martin. He always comes in on that particular Wednesday, so he'll be here. And then tomorrow, Thursday, is we're starting the day off with Master Gardener Extraordinaire Bob Airy. Have you ever been in that program before?
I have not. I have a good friend who's a master gardener in Davidson County. So.
Amazing program. You all are going to hear about it tomorrow. I'm actually in it right now, learning so much more than I ever could have imagined that I would learn. So Bob's going to be in the first half of tomorrow, and then, of course, the second half is United Way. Tiffany will be here. And then Friday, we are going to have many people's favorite pastor, Brother Steve Freeman from Grace Baptist Church, because they're going to have enrollment pretty soon with Grace Baptist Academy, and they're actually adding a grade, so there's a lot of things to get updated. So Steve Freeman is going to be here on Friday. But right now we are very excited to have Chantele because there's so many things going on with Critter Fixers. And so I'm so excited. So where do you want to start?
Oh, gosh, where should we start? A lot of people have never heard of Critter Fixers, so let's start there. Access to spay and neuter, affordable spay and neuter in Robertson County is almost non-existent. We have to go to outside counties. So we got started back in 2018. I just contacted Sumner Spay Neuter Alliance, which is a big clinic in Gallatin, asking them how did they get their program started? What can I do to get one in Robertson County? Will you help me? And they said yes, but meanwhile, we have a monthly transport to other counties. We bring in, from other counties, and we've been trying to get into Robertson County. Do you want to run the program?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. I have no idea what I'm getting into. And then they give me another call, and they said, well, we have a date for you, and it's in 9 days.
Oh, my
So I have to, we weren't Critter Fixers then. It was just me.
Okay.
I had to come up with a name, and
I love that. That's perfect.
I had to come up with a name, and I had to find 25 animals, and I had to find a location, and I had to find volunteers. In 9 days, I threw all this together.
You're awesome.
Thank you to the fairgrounds. We used to use the fairgrounds for the transport every month. The clinic gave me a name of a person that volunteered. They were like, hey, what's that guy's name that always comes from Robertson County to help us? So I just call up this random person, Phil Harris. We're both friends
Phil.
with him. Yeah. And I said, hey, I need you to be at the fairgrounds at 6 a.m. on this date. And he's like, I'll be there. And he's been with us ever since. But that's kind of how it got started. And then we just went on from there. And at the time, it was just me, but now we are a registered 501c3 nonprofit, and we are moving towards getting a clinic going here in Robertson County.
Yay.
But that's how it started, and we're at over 1,000 animals since we started.
Oh, wow. From Robertson County that have been spayed or
Yes.
neutered. Okay.
Yeah, and when COVID hit in 2020, the clinic kind of shut down to all the other counties, and our transport stopped. So we had almost 2 years with virtually no surgeries. So that 1,000 is with pretty much doing nothing for about 18 months or so.
So I have to ask, were you always an animal lover? Like how did you even get to this point?
I don't know. I ask myself that every day. How do I get here? No, I've always been an animal lover, and I used to volunteer a lot. And I toyed with maybe starting a rescue. But the things with rescues, you can't rescue more until you adopt out. And it just seemed like spay and neuter was the way to help more. And I live out in the county on a dead-end road, and so we get a lot of drop-offs. So I've had to deal with a lot of animals, and I try to get them into a rescue, and the rescues are so overwhelmed. Sometimes they can take them, but they need to be spay or neutered first. And getting them in is like impossible unless you go to the vet, and the vet prices are non-comparable to a clinic price. So that's how I got into it.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I understand, because we live in the country and we've had the same thing. That's why we've taken 4 cats in, because, we just had cats randomly adopt us. And to get 4 cats spayed is, it wouldn't be possible without you guys.
Yeah, that's not something that a lot of people know. If you're not an animal lover, or if there's not money issues, if you're blessed, in your life that you don't have the money restraints, you're not aware of the difference between the clinic prices and the veterinarian, because you just go to the vet and you pay the price. But when you go to our local veterinarians, first you have to have a first visit, and an animal has to have all their shots. So you've got your visit and your shots, so that's a couple $100 right there. And then they schedule the surgery, which can be anywhere between $250 to $500, depending on the size and the sex of the animal. So you're looking at, $500 to $750 for one animal, versus a clinic. They charge about $65, $70, and they give them the shots right there at like $10 a shot if you want to add it on. So it's just a huge difference, and it will make such a big difference having a clinic here. And our shelter intake. It'll really bring down our shelter intake. So
yeah, and that's what people need to realize, because I know our shelters here. I mean, I've been seeing posts on Facebook that said we're full. Please adopt. We're full.
Yeah, they're overwhelmed.
And like you said, I mean, the price, if you had just like our first 3 cats, they were feral.
Yeah.
They weren't our cats, but they were all, hanging out. And so, to spend $500 to $700 on a cat that's not even yours, that might not be here next week, so I was really grateful for you guys. And then I know that when we took the orange male cat in for his spay, they ended up, somebody fell in love with them right there at the clinic.
That was when we had to go to the Joy Clinic. Yes, in Lebanon. Yeah.
And so that was great, because he got his forever home, and so straight from there he went home, and so that's really awesome.
So he wandered up to the right place when he started eating on your porch.
Yeah. Well, we had 3 girl cats, so he had some motivation.
Yeah.
So I was very happy that he found a home, and so were the 3 girls.
Yeah, they have a big rescue also. They're affiliated with a big rescue out at that clinic, and the feral cats that come in, they just kind of check their temperament, because some people think they're feral cats, but they're not. They're just a pet that someone had at some point and then left out, or they moved, or who knows what happened. But yeah, he was a good, friendly cat, and they said, we'll take him. So
that's awesome. That just made me so happy when, because I called and they said, well, actually, you don't have to pick him up. And I was like, what? So that was
that was great. That was great. And I was glad that happened.
That was a great story.
I'd actually forgot about that.
So anyway, You guys are looking to actually have a place here in Robertson County, right? And that's something that's kind of in the works right now.
It is. That's something the mayor kind of touched on. We started back in 2020 when we were shut out from the other clinics. We had no place to go. So that's when we were like, okay, we've got to come up with our own place. And that was the plan from the beginning, but COVID kind of shoved us into it. So yeah, we've been fundraising hard for about the last year and a half. And recently we met with Mayor Vogel, and they are considering leasing us the old animal shelter when they get moved out. And I was tickled when he was talking about it, because he was talking about how the building was so bad and it smelled so horrible. But yeah, we'll let Critter Fixers use it. But we know it'll need a lot of work.
Right.
But since we are a nonprofit, once we have an address,
yes,
we can apply for grants for the renovation. And we feel like when we can put up that big coming soon sign, the community will show up and we will get community support, and we'll be able to get the building renovated and not smelling anymore.
Right. Definitely. And it'll be a totally different, it's not where dogs are going to be, staying for length. So it won't. Yeah. It won't have that smell. It'll be a medical facility.
It
so
will be. It'll be
clean.
It
won't be stinky.
We know that we have to completely redo it, and we've talked about it. We don't even know if the building's salvageable. It may be one of those things where because we've thought about purchasing a metal building, because there's a big clinic in Clarksville that they're in a metal building. So we could just use the land and put up something else. But before we can apply for any grants for that, we've got to have an address. So that would give us an address to get started.
Great.
So that would be great.
Now, I know that you have a Facebook page, because I was looking at that and I saw there was a really great update about your whole situation, about how to donate. So you want to tell them, because I know some people aren't on Facebook, they're watching or listening through the radio airwaves. So how can they help you guys?
Yeah, we are on Facebook, and we have a donate button there. We have a website. It is www.spayrobertson.org. We have an Instagram, which I always kind of forget about because I'm not an Instagram user, but we do have an Instagram. And you can text the word FIX, F-I-X, to 53555, and you will immediately get back a link where you can donate.
Awesome. Very cool. And what an amazing, like you said, you were an animal lover, you wanted to do rescue, but you realized that, hey, there's just too many animals that need to be rescued. So this is a way to really get forever homes for people, or for animals, I call animals people, but for those individuals that really need, a home. And by not bringing in unnecessarily more, animals into the mix.
Yeah.
It's one thing if somebody wants to, have kittens or puppies, and they're going to keep them and take care of them. But oftentimes they're like trying to give them away, or like, oh, we got 7 free kittens, and all that. And it's just so sad, because there's other kittens that have been waiting for homes.
Yeah. There's not a lot of guarantees in life, but one thing that I can guarantee you is if an animal's not born, it's not going to end up on the streets hungry, and it's not going to end up in our shelter.
That's right.
We had a lady contact us just last week, and I'm working on getting her a appointment. She's on our wait list, but our wait list is kind of long. She had 1 dog. She was a normal pet owner. She had 1 dog in a fully fenced in yard, 1 female dog, and a stray male dug in.
Oh my gosh.
And next thing you know, she's got 12 puppies. The stray was in kind of rough shape, so she's taken him too. So now she calls me. She's gotten rid of some of the puppies. She's found homes for some puppies, but she has 5 left. So she's basically got 7 dogs now. So pretty much overnight, she went from a 1-dog home to a 7-dog home. And she's like, they're going to start reproducing soon. I need help.
Oh, wow.
And, that's the kind of people that we hear from. And these are large breed dogs.
Oh, goodness.
So we're talking $400 or $500 at a vet. Can you imagine, going to get 7 of them done?
Oh, my gosh.
So it's really needed around here. And then the cats is a whole nother situation. The barn cats and the feral cats and all these cats out at the grocery store that you see hanging around and all that. So it's desperately needed, and we're going to get there, whether it be with this county building or not. Either way, we're going to get there.
Well, you are doing an amazing job. And I know, like what you said about, that the stray getting in, we have a beagle who is not spayed yet, but she has an appointment
She
in
does.
April. And but I know this was the first female dog that we had here in the country. And my niece, who's lived here for a lot longer, she told me, you better get her fixed right away because you don't know, but the dogs will come after her, and they'll jump the fence or do things in between the fence, just they'll get to her.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
They will. They can smell them from like a mile away, and they will find you.
Yeah. So if you are new to town and you're not used to this, if you have an animal that hasn't been spayed or fixed yet, go for it. Get that done because, it's a totally different situation in the country. There's so many dogs and cats that are just roaming. Almost every day there's some a different animal in our front yard.
Yeah, and with the dogs, it's usually a large breed because it's for a farm dog or something like that. It's like we have a lot of Great Pyrenees around here because they watch over the goats and things like that. But they pump out about 12 puppies at a time. So I mean,
my goodness,
they really need to be fixed, and because they will find you. And a lot of people think, it's a boy, I don't need to have him fixed, but they'll wander, and they have no reason to wander and try to find these females if they've already fixed. They'll stay home.
Good point.
Yeah. Especially with the cats, because the male cats, they will fight almost to the death trying to mate. And I have trapped so many male cats that have all these scars on their face and their eyes are messed up, and it's from fighting to mate. And then the stinky cat pee, all that stops if you just get them fixed.
Now that's something I want to cover more of after our break. We need to do a commercial break, but when we come back, I want you to talk about those things because those are some things that people don't see, the scars on the faces and things like that. So let's go ahead and hear from one of our sponsors.
I am so excited to be a part of the Cumberland Connect community, and you can be too. If you're a Cumberland Electric customer, you will have access to high-speed, affordable internet. It's just a matter of time. They may already be in your neighborhood. If you want to check it out, go to www.cumberlandconnect.org, put in your address and see. They may be ready to come and install wonderful high-speed internet for you, or you can give them a call at 1-800-987-2362. $80 gets you a gig. I have been thrilled with my internet service ever since I hooked up with Cumberland Connect. And because it's a public utility, if you're somebody that's having some problems financially, maybe you're struggling a little bit, they can help you out with the Affordable Connectivity Program, providing qualifying households with monthly credit to help pay for internet services. And if you're eligible, you can get up to $30 per month toward broadband services. It's a public utility now. They want to help you out, so give them a call today. Cumberland Connect, 1-800-987-2362, and tell them U-Turn sent you.
All right. And yes, that was U-Turn Laverne's voice, but she is not here. She will be back on Monday. She is on spring break. For those of you that don't know, she is teaching now at Greenbrier High School. And so she is on spring break and took spring break from here as well. So I'll be filling in all week for her. And today we have Chantele here from Critter Fixers, and she is just educating us and informing us on all things critter fixing. So before our break, we started to talk about the other things that happen when you don't fix your pets. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
I think we ended on who doesn't want to end on stinky cat pee? That's what we ended on. Just recently, I was able to trap a cat that he kept coming up onto my porch and eating, which is fine, but he kept peeing on everything. When the food bowl was empty, he would pee in it.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, oh, this is disgusting.
And so that's something that happens when they're not fixed.
Yes, it was a male.
Okay.
And he's had a rough life. He's missing half of his tail. I don't know what happened to that. And he's got scars all over his face from fighting to mate. But it took me about 3 weeks. I was finally able to get him to go into the trap, and he's been fixed. And it's the testosterone that makes the male cat pee smell. Okay. So once they've been neutered, they don't stink anymore. So after about a week, he has no longer pees in our food bowl, thank goodness. And he is just such a much better cat.
Wow.
And I know his life is a lot easier now because he doesn't have to fight anymore.
Now, see, I didn't know that about the cat pee, so that is very good information.
Yeah, the smell will go away because that smell is horrible.
Yes. Yes.
And that's one of the big complaints with the community cats. When, you get somebody, they call to them the crazy cat lady or whatever, that's feeding 20 cats. That's what the neighbors complain about is the smell. And you don't have the smell if you would just get them all fixed.
Okay, very good information.
Well,
Y'all need to be sharing this video.
yeah. You want to know about cat pee? Just ask me.
That's right. And y'all know some crazy cat people that have like 30 cats. So no, but that is good information. Very random and useful for sure. And then of course the cats will fight not only with each other but with the other cats.
Yeah, and it's loud. And then if you've ever heard cats mate, that's loud. It's like a baby screaming or something being killed in the background. So all that stops if you would just get them fixed.
All right. Anything else that I'm missing as far as the benefits or to spay and neutering?
Well, obviously you don't have any chance of mammary. Well, mammary is still possible, but there's a big chance of mammary tumors and stuff like that for the females from nursing, and so things like that go away.
Okay, so certain rates of cancer and stuff go down.
Stuff like that, and of course the not roaming anymore, and just in general, they tend to live longer if they have been fixed.
Well, there you go, right there.
Yeah,
your pets will live longer. That's a very good point. So, you have really cute shirt here.
Yeah.
Can we get those somewhere?
We will be doing events. We just did a little pre-order on Facebook. So we've had people that already have these. Okay. But then we ordered some extra ones that we'll be doing. We'll have sales at events and stuff. And one of those things is the Friday night market, down in Springfield. Mm-hmm. So we are really hoping we can get into the Friday night market a lot. You have to apply 1 month at a time.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
We've applied for June, so we hope we get approved, and we'll just keep applying every month. But we've got the Friday night market. We hope to be at a lot of those. We have... Bloom Chick Flower Company, is really popular around here. People love her bouquets. We're going to be doing a fundraising event with her in the summer, but we haven't come up with a date yet. Small Town Startup is having something for us in May. It's actually for all the nonprofits. So we're going to be having a big fundraiser there.
And do you have, if people go to Walmart or Kroger, is there still an option to donate?
There is. You can hook us up to your Kroger card. You just go into your Kroger account, and it's called Community Rewards, and you can pick your local nonprofit. So if you pick Critter Fixers, every single time you shop, they will make a donation to us. They send it out quarterly, so every 3 months we get a check. Right now we only have 50 or 60 households in our checks, usually $300 or $400. But some of the bigger rescues that have thousands of households, like their checks are like $7,000 every time, so that would make a huge difference.
Yes, sure would.
And then if you do pick up at Walmart, or you anything that you get from Walmart.com, they have a roundup program where you can choose your local nonprofit, and your change, if it's you spend $52.87, the rest, 13 cents will go to us. And it doesn't sound like much, but our last check that we got from them was $1,000.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Now, is that something they have to pick each time, or do they go in their Walmart.com account and pick it once and then they don't?
You pick your nonprofit once, and then every time you check out, it asks if you want a roundup. So you don't have to, but it does pop up and it asks you either want to or you don't.
Okay, that's great information. And then hopefully you'll be at the Friday night market, which is the first Friday night in June at 6 p.m. And I want to bring up something about that because I'm involved with some nonprofits as well. And I wish we didn't have to apply every single month.
Yeah, but it's because Robertson County is nonprofit rich. We have a lot of nonprofits.
But I mean, we got so many streets. Why can't they just let everybody, put a booth up?
Yeah, I wish. I wish. So hopefully we make it in. Mm-hmm. That's all I can say is just hopefully we make it. At least to, a couple of them. Mm-hmm. We only, we were denied one last year that we applied for. And then actually another one, we had COVID and we couldn't go. So I think we only ended up going once last year because once we didn't get in and then once we were sick.
Yeah, I don't understand. I want to find out what their criteria is because, it's those of us that volunteer a lot, it's very time consuming to fill out these applications and send photos of your booth and all that stuff. It's frustrating because, I spend a lot of time volunteering and so much of it is filling out applications. And, there was a time when you could just do the Friday night markets, you could just do them all, you know, and it's so much better. And I just don't understand the reasoning behind making people wait each month. You know, we have volunteers that man the booths that have to wait, you know, just everything. It just,
to plan your life.
I don't get that. Maybe that's something I can talk to Ryan about. I know the city is not in charge of it. It's the historical society that's in charge of it, but still, I think I'm going to, ask him, because maybe there's something that can be done, you know. A lot of people don't realize how much time is put into that. But anyways, I digress. So you guys have fixed over 1,000 pets from Robertson County by getting them transported to clinics outside of Robertson County.
Yes.
I know Phil and Diane Harris have transported so many animals for so many different groups. I mean, they're awesome.
Yeah, they do rescue transports too. Yeah, Phil and Diane do a lot.
Yeah, so big shout out to them. So right now, you know, you can get on the waiting list, right? Is the waiting list a little bit longer?
It depends. Our male cats are our shortest list, and male dogs.
Okay.
But our female cats and female dogs, that's pretty long. We're probably looking at a June or July appointment.
Okay.
But if you couldn't afford it any other way and it wasn't going to happen any other way, you might as well get on the list.
That's right, get on the list.
And you never know. Sometimes we get last minute cancellations and we just go down the list looking for somebody that can go tomorrow.
Good point.
It's never hurts to be on the list.
Good point. Excellent. All right. Well, we have just a few minutes left. Is there anything else that you want to tell our pet lovers out there?
So much pressure. I just want to say that the clinic is not something that we are just going to throw together and hope that it works. There is a guide through the ASPCA that they put out in all the clinics in Tennessee, and there's several actually out throughout the U.S. that they've used this guide to, and that's what they use to open, and that's what they use to operate. So we're not just going to throw something together and hope that it works. We're using a model that's already working in other places.
Nice.
We just have to have the building. That's our first step. So
Very good.
So
Well,
we hope.
That's awesome. And then one last question I had, because I know that you work with a few different clinics, you know, that are just outside the county. Are there things that people can donate to that? Like, say, you know, someone had a dog, they got extra pee-pee pads, or, you know, like supplies. Do they need other supplies donated, or towels? Or
They do. Just about all the clinics need like sheets, towels. They do need the pee-pee pads because they put those, like I picked up a cat yesterday in a trap and they put the little pee pad in the bottom. They use those throughout the clinic. They take food because they do feed the animals usually after surgery. Well, at least Gallatin does because they spend the night. The Clarksville clinic actually has a large food bank and a pet retail store.
Oh.
So if you bought a dog bed or something and your dog hates it,
Right.
the clinic in Clarksville will take it and they sell it at their retail store, and that actually helps fund their clinic. And office supplies and things like that you don't even think of. They don't want to spend money on copy paper. So yeah, pretty much anything.
Wow. So if people do want to, you know, donate some supplies to those other clinics, can they get in contact with you, or?
They can. Most of the clinics have a website, and most of them have an Amazon list where you can just click, order from Amazon, and have it shipped directly to them.
Nice. Excellent. So can they get the links to those other clinics off of your page, or
They are all on our page, yes.
Okay, that's on your webpage?
Yes, there's 4 different clinics that we use, and they're all on our page.
Okay, excellent. So one more time, get a close-up of that right there. Text the word FIX to 53555 to donate, or you can check out their website, spayrobertson.org, or look up Critter Fixers on Facebook. Like their stuff, guys, and share their posts. You know, because you have a lot of good posts. I just, you know, looked it up the other day. I hadn't been on for a while. You probably saw a bunch of likes from Lee Marie. But I go, you know what? More people need to be looking at this and sharing. And, you know, you had a lot of good information there.
And every time you share it, somebody else finds out about us, and they may donate or they may need us. So either way, we need them to know about us.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Chantele, so much
Thank
for
you.
coming in. And I wish you all the best. And I'm just so impressed with what you started. You know, just one person. And it shows shows you guys, one person can do so much. So don't think out there that like you don't have, if you're still breathing, God has a plan for you. And so you just need to tap into that and find out what that is. Pray for wisdom and discernment, and you'll be given your assignment. We're so glad that you have this assignment. I'm so glad that personally.
It is my assignment. That's exactly how I take it too.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. So that's what I'm going to do.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll hopefully see you soon at your new building in Robertson
Hopefully,
County.
but it won't be stinky, I promise.
That's right. It won't be stinky. We'll be in prayer for that. Take care. God bless. All right. As we are doing the switch over, we're going to be bringing in Ryan Martin, city manager for the city of Springfield. And so while we do that, I might as well play one more of our sponsor breaks. Here we go.
It's always a great day to check out Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Now, a couple of dates they want you to save the date for. First up, on April 1st, that is the Full Bloom Festival. And then coming up on May 13th, they have got their Customer Appreciation Day. Both days will get started at 9 a.m. Got free hot dogs on Customer Appreciation Day, and then a planting station that the kids can come out and get something beautiful ready for Mother's Day. And, of course, the Full Bloom Festival coming up on April Fool's Day, April 1st. Come out and see everything they've got to make your garden grow perfect this year. Be sure and check out all the things they have inside the store. Of course, there are CBD products, which I rely on. Really a help to any kind of an inflammation issue, or maybe you have trouble sleeping. And they have all kinds of great gift items. A wonderful place for you to do your shopping, gift giving, whatever it is you need. Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Go and check them out today. They're at 4920 Highway 161, or call them 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185. Tell them U-Turn sent you.
Okay, and that was U-Turn's voice, but she is not in the house today. She will not be back until Monday. This is Lee Marie filling in for her all week. So glad y'all can join us, and I'm so glad I get to interview Mr. Ryan Martin, the city manager of Springfield. And there we go. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Lee Marie. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing wonderful.
You're filling in this week. You've got to take the reins this week while Laverne's on spring break,
yes,
right?
That's what's going on.
Good. Everything going well so far?
So far, so good.
Yeah. She hadn't called and threatened to come back in on spring break so far.
Yeah, she was watching yesterday's show. I could tell on Facebook she was watching yesterday's show, and I didn't get any like scary messages or anything. So
good. I'm sure you're doing fine. Good. Thanks for having me this morning. We always appreciate the opportunity to come on and let the public know and let the folks know kind of what's going on. So,
all right. So what's going on?
Well, we had an eventful board meeting last week. So for those that aren't aware, the third Tuesday of every month is when the Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen meets. That's our regular meeting. Begins at 6 p.m. Anyone's welcome to join us. We have that at City Hall. That's 405 North Main Street, right next to the center. A lot of folks have trouble seeing City Hall from the road because it sets off the road, but everybody knows where the center is. So if you can find the center, you can find City Hall. But we had some special guests last night. We had Troop 144, Boy Scout Troop 144, that joined us last night. One of their tasks that they have to achieve is to attend a governmental meeting. And so they attended our meeting last night. They were in for a rather long meeting. We had a long agenda, so there's probably some shorter ones they could have attended. But but I think they got to see a lot last night and got to see local government at work. They got to see how things, the debate that takes place, the deliberation, the services that are discussed, that are provided for citizens. And so I hopefully it was very enlightening for them, and we had a good group of them, and we had reserved some seating for them up front, so they were front and center to be able to see that. We did have some public hearings last night. We had some second readings for ordinances. But before we get into the board meeting, what I'd like to do is talk about the storm event. I haven't been able to, or haven't been on here since last month, and wanted to address the storm event. We have said internally for quite some time that we've dodged, and we've been very fortunate, been very blessed that everywhere around us, you can draw a circle around, Robertson County and from Bowling Green to Clarksville, to Gallatin and Lebanon and Nashville. Everyone has been affected by weather events in the last several years, and we haven't. And so we knew that it was a matter of time. And so in working toward preparation, emergency planning, and that sort of thing, we obviously never want it to happen, but we understand that, that statistically our time is going to be coming with the way that severe weather's been moving across Middle Tennessee in the last few years. And so we did. We were affected by the wind event. Obviously, everyone knows someone that was out of power. Everyone knows someone, if you weren't out of power yourself, everyone knows someone that had a tree that fell down somewhere or on their yard or something like that. So we were that Friday, March the 3rd, we have 9,000 customers. And when I say customers, I'm talking about meters. So that's not people. We have about 9,000 electric meters,
Okay.
which would be 9,000 customers. That's 20,000
It's
people,
like 9,000
roughly,
households.
or businesses,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So meters, so we call them the meter, the customer. So
Okay.
we lost about 6,000 of those.
Wow.
So about, you're talking about 2/3 of your customer base being without power. And so it was a mass outage event. The worst event we've had in 30 years since the ice storm in the 90s. So it was quite a challenge, quite a chore to get folks back on. I'm really pleased with the work that our city departments did. We did activate an emergency operations center on that Friday afternoon to get department heads in the room. To get, we had the fire chief, the electric director, the police chief, and public works director, and we were all working in tandem through a prioritized list of clearing roads, making sure that lines that were down weren't hot, so people could, so emergency crews could get to folks that needed help, but also that we could clear roads with trees that had a line on them. So we operated in teams and operated effectively, and I'm really proud and really pleased with our staff for how they handled that. I want to thank the public, because it was about 72 hours before we got those 6,000 customers back on. We had about 3,000 of them on that night. So some things were quicker fixed than others. Some were a lot more difficult. I mean, some like Indian Hills. Indian Hills was a subdivision that when that electric was run in that subdivision years ago, it was run behind the houses. So it kind of follows along the tree line. Well, following along the tree line's not very good when the trees fall. And so there was catastrophic damage to our infrastructure back there that required, it wasn't just putting a line back up, it was rebuilding a lot of different things. And so the folks in Indian Hills were without power for some time, and so we appreciate their patience. There were some other smaller pockets that weren't as widespread affected, but maybe the secondary service had some issues and things like that. So we just appreciate the patience of the citizens, of the customers, for allowing our folks to work. They worked diligently and tirelessly over the weekend. I want to thank Tullahoma and Cookeville, because both of their electric utilities sent a crew to help us.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm thankful for them, because what a lot of folks don't know is with 9,000 customers, we only have 11 linemen. So that's all we could put to work, and there was no help to be found in that situation like that, because all the contractors, all the private sector folks were allocated out to the larger utilities like Cumberland Electric and Middle Tennessee Electric and NES and things like that. So it was tough, and there was a lot to get through, and we're still cleaning up. Electric department's still doing some work to clean up. Our electric director estimates that storm cost about $500,000 just to the electric utility alone, in resources and time, in damage and material. So that was a tough one for us to get through, and we're thankful that we got through it. The Public Works Department is still picking up brush, so if you have a tree that you're cutting up, and you can put that, if you're in the city limits only, that's a city service offered to city residents. You can put that out by the road, and we have our brush truck running nonstop through the week, and they'll pick that up. Also, junk collection starts on April the 3rd. So the challenge there is to figure out how to pick up as much brush as we can to allow the staff to work on junk collection, because that's a service that we offer in April and October every year, is junk collection. So if you have a junk in your house, if you have a couch, if you have things, you can set that out by the road. We come by, we pick that up, and we get rid of that free of charge for you.
And how many days in June do they do that?
It's April, and it's the month of April.
Oh, April.
Yeah,
the month of April.
It starts on Monday the 3rd.
Okay.
And we'll run through the last weekday in April.
Okay.
Which would be, I guess, the 31st. No, there's 30 days in April, so it'd be the 28th. I guess would be the, I presume would be the last weekday in April. So we run that Monday through Friday.
Okay. It's like the 28th.
28th.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
My mental calendar worked in that particular setting. So that's a service that's coming up. That was on my list to discuss too. But I wanted to talk about the storm. That was a widespread, and that we're going to be recovering from that for a while.
Well, and before we get off that, I wanted to bring up, because I heard that this Friday it's expected that there's going to be some winds as well. And I know that, like in our case of our tree that crashed down and broke all our fences, half of it came down. The other half was leaning on another tree. Well, we called for like 5 days trying to find, a tree person, but they were all booked. So finally the neighbors just all got together and we yanked it down. And luckily it only broke another fence. It didn't hurt any people. So praise the Lord. But I know, like, I was driving down Fluellen yesterday and I was looking and I'm like, there's a lot of trees just kind of waiting for another breeze. And then I heard that Friday's supposed to be, do you know what Friday,
It's changed a few times. And so, looking at it yesterday, it looked differently than it did last night. And so this morning, the timing and what I saw this morning was that the timing is everything. And so we don't really know yet. We'll have to get closer to Friday. But certainly when those things pop up, we monitor those and we're prepared. We've got folks ready to respond to that. And that was a good. Fortunately, the wind event on March the 3rd, it wasn't a mass casualty event. It wasn't a tornado that came through, and we had to do. We were very fortunate here to not that I'm aware of that had any fatalities resulting from the wind event. I know other areas weren't as fortunate, and some folks got hurt and killed from the situation, but we were fortunate here in that regard, and so it was a good opportunity for us to work through the plan of how we respond and react to one of these incidents. And so I feel good. There's some things we can do better, and we've talked about that. And so we'll be prepared. This was a little bit different than a tornado in that a tornado generally takes a specified path, and so to the north of that and to the south of that are generally unaffected to the path of tornado. This was the entire county, all of Springfield, all of Robertson County, a lot of Middle Tennessee. This straight line wind just came across. And so that's another thing that made it difficult to get help because there's so many folks affected. It's not, in your situation, like, tree trimmers or tree companies, they're booked all over Middle Tennessee. Instead of having the folks that were from an area that were unaffected to be able to come here and help, they're all affected. So it's a challenge. That part was more challenging than some of the other events that you could have. But anyway, I was pleased and I was thankful. Our citizens were very, very understanding. They understood that this was the largest event that we've had in 30 years and hopefully the largest event we have for another 30. Right. But understanding that it just took some time to, and groceries were ruined and that sort of thing. And we're apologetic to, and we if that's the worst that happened, we made it through without any real casualties, injuries, and things like that.
Right. So then, be sure to be watching the weather because there are expected some winds at some point, whether it be Friday or Saturday. So you might just want to, have your gas tanks full and don't go out unnecessarily because there are trees that are waiting to fall.
I think so, and I think we'll probably see some residual with some storms because we're just now getting into storm season.
Right.
April is generally a month that has some severe storms for our area, and so as we see those winds, I think we'll have more trees that were maybe damaged.
Right.
From the previous event, like the one you were talking about, that will come down, and so I would ask everyone to use caution and be aware of their surroundings. I think. We've not seen an event like March 3rd to know how strong wind could be in that regard, straight line winds. And so I think we understand that more now because there were some folks that were out while it was going on and it was scary because I thought I was about to, and as you see, roofs fly off. We had building damage at the city. We had a couple of buildings that were damaged. The roof at the county office building, there were awnings on Main Street and things like that
Well, I was surprised. Coming out of Kroger, there was just a stop sign that had completely pulled out and knocked over. Big old cement, block on the bottom. And then when I was trying to drive home, I thought I was going to end up in the culvert. I pulled over at West End Church because, the Pathfinder was just getting shaken, and I couldn't. It was a strong wind.
It was
sure.
very, very strong.
Now, I had a question, and because obviously I live in the country, so this you may not know the answer, but so like on Fluellen, driving kind of maybe like a half a mile from Fluellen Church on the Adams side, there's a lot of trees that are leaning on other trees that are just waiting. Does the county or anybody like go through regularly after something like this just to see if there's something that looks dangerous that they might want to try to get down before the next wind, or do they just wait?
I don't know if they do or not. I think that might be a better question for Mayor Vogel. I think he'll probably have him on. Did you already have him on this
yesterday?
week? Okay, all right. We'll give him a call. I'm not sure. Our electric utility, we spend an inordinate amount of time and money to trim trees off of electric lines.
Okay.
So we don't take many trees down.
So the city is kind of surveying that right now, looking to see if there's any that are getting
and that's
ready.
something we regularly do anyway.
Okay.
And we're able to do that because we have a little bit more of a confined system.
Okay.
It's easier for us than it is for some of the co-ops that serve rural areas because they've got a lot more mileage to cover. But for us, we're able to run a trimming crew or 2 trimming crews in the city regularly throughout the year to make sure. And what that does is that limits your minor outages. That limits the limb falling on a line in a thunderstorm. Because it's nearby. So we trim that back so when that limb falls, it doesn't fall on the line. And so it limits our minor outages.
Okay.
And so that's just a maintenance and upkeep thing that we do with our electric lines.
Okay, so maybe if people in the county maybe see something looks real dangerous, like it might gonna be falling soon, maybe just might want to give the county a call and let them know. Okay. All right. So what else do we got?
Get back to the meeting last night. So on the second reading, the board passed a rezoning for an area off of Curtis Wood Lane. It's a South Mead subdivision. It's generally kind of behind the Highland Crest Community College campus. Okay. And so that's the area that is going to be rezoned. There's 347 residential units that are proposed to be developed there. They're rezoned that to MRO, which is multiple residential and office. It'll be a mixed use type of development. Jim Moore from Venture 24, GS Moore and Son, and also with Billy Batson, they are kind of partnering in a sense on that development, allowing some roadway access there. So that's another development that's taking place in the city of Springfield that'll be getting started soon. And so we're excited about that as far as how the growth is proceeding in a smart way. With that in mind, we have also undertaken solicited proposals, and we should have an agreement in place with a consultant soon to update our comprehensive growth plan to make sure that as the growth is moving a little bit more expeditiously, than I think folks anticipated, that we make sure we're growing from an infrastructure standpoint, from just growing in a smart way, that we don't, Batson Parkway extension's under construction now, which will help with the congestion on Memorial Boulevard to some extent. So there's some things that we're doing that we've secured over time. Water, we've secured a secondary water source. We're undergoing the design process to build a new wastewater treatment plant, which will double the size of our current capacity. So as far as handling the growth, we're about to be undertaking a third fire station, which is long overdue. We're actually already overdue for a third fire station.
Where's that?
So
Where's that going to be?
It'll be south of Springfield. So we're in the process of securing the land through some different property owners right now about where that's going to be. But it'll be in the southern part, which is where a lot of the growth is happening, out there on that Batson Parkway corridor, Tom Austin Highway, that sort of thing. So that was a rezoning last night. The board also approved on first reading new rates for the Legacy Golf Course. So the Legacy Golf Course, I'll brag on it for just a second. It continues to win awards. We continue to be in the top 10 in the state of Tennessee in public golf courses, which is why we generally don't tell many folks that the city owns it, because we don't want to give it a bad reputation. This guy has a great one, so we don't want to ruin that. But the board approves rates every year for the golf course to and update those rates. And so there was a minimal increase last night to the daily rate for adults, but we did go down in some rates for juniors. There's a new junior walking rate now, as well as a reduction in the cost for a child pass to play, because juniors are the future of the game, and so you want to grow the game and you want to incentivize children to start playing. And so there's several different things that the Legacy does throughout the year, including the summer with a couple of different camps and leagues for kids. And so I'd ask anybody interested in that to pay attention to our social media channels. We'll be getting that information out because it's a great program. It's usually it fills up pretty quickly, so you got to jump on it pretty quickly. But we have some great junior programming at the Legacy over the summer. So,
awesome.
So that's good stuff as well. The board also named a private road last night, which is not something that happens very often. But E911 addressing office recommended that a private road be named for purposes of emergency services, because the new Woolen Mills development, everybody remembers the Woolen Mills factory that's been around here for a while, the NASCO factory later on, and that's being redone by Southern States Construction. Kirk Johnson and his team are doing a great job of their vision for that. They'll relocate their headquarters there. They have some other things in mind to serve the public there. And so there's going to be a roadway that runs through there, and E911 addressing thought it would be wise to name that. That way anything along that way can be found by emergency services. Even though it's a private road, it's not going to be public right-of-way. It's to help and aid emergency services to locate folks that might be in distress. So we did that as well. A large discussion last night was held on the municipal code, the ordinance as it relates to distance requirements for on-premise permits for beer sales and consumption. So there are, as downtown grows, I believe a business owner had approached one of the aldermen about potentially opening a restaurant that would serve beer downtown, but it would be right next door to a church. And so currently that minimum distance requirement is 100 feet. And so the board discussed last night kind of what the options are there and their feelings. And so there was a mix of feelings among the board last night. And so ultimately they'd like for some more data to be collected and maybe gauge public input on that. So we'll likely be putting something out to see how the public feels about potentially creating an overlay, which formerly the city had a 300-foot minimum distance citywide, but it was 100-foot downtown, because in a core commercial district, the buildings, there are no setbacks, and so the buildings are going to be inherently closer together. So that distance was reduced. And so in 2018, I believe, is when the city reduced it to 100-foot citywide. So it currently stands at 100-foot citywide. There's a variety, surveying Middle Tennessee cities, there's a variety of approaches. Some have a more of a subjective approach, which is not highly advisable from a legal standpoint, because you can get into exposure to legal liability there if you don't treat folks equally. And then there's some that are very restricted at 500 foot, and then there's some that are not so restrictive. White House is one of those that they have an overlay for their town, for a town center zoning classification that doesn't have a minimum distance at all. Murfreesboro, similar situation where they have certain zoning classifications that don't have minimum distances, but others do. And so it protects areas while allowing the town center type settings to be exempt. So it'll be interesting to see what the public input is on that. It's like I told the board last night, that's not the last time this will come up. As downtown grows and more restaurants and things want to come downtown, the ones that are down there now are unaffected by the distance requirement. But the irony of the situation, the irony of the entire situation, is that if that business wanted to set up shop tomorrow, they could serve high gravity beer and liquor. Because the state of Tennessee regulates high gravity beer and liquor. High gravity beer, and I believe it's 8. I said 8% last night, and I should have looked it up to make sure I'm right, and maybe folks out there listening will know. But high gravity beer, which is not your Bud Lights and Mick Ultras, okay? Those are on the 4 to 5% spectrum. But high gravity beer, the heavier stuff, is not regulated as beer in the state of Tennessee. So the state law gives to the local governments the authority to regulate beer, while the state government retains the authority to regulate liquor, and high gravity beer falls in the definition of liquor. So one example of that is Public House. So Public House, in pursuing their on-premise consumption permit for beer, when they opened a few years ago, they had to wait. I don't remember exactly what happened, but they had to wait till the next beer board meeting, which was like a month away. But meanwhile, they could serve liquor and high gravity beer because they already had their state permit. So that's the irony of the situation. It's a little frustrating from a local government perspective that I wish the state would either regulate all of it or none of it. Because, again, you end up with this conundrum where they could open tomorrow and sell liquor and high gravity beer. They just can't sell Mick Ultra and Bud Light. Right.
I see. So that 100 feet from a church, is that what about for schools or places that teach children?
Same thing. It's schools, daycares, parks. yeah, there's a list of
So then that state law that you were talking about, is that why, like, because right across the street from where, there's music lessons and dance lessons, there's 3 places that are teaching children lessons. Then you got that whiskey bar right across the street from them.
That's correct.
And how did that happen? And how could they justify that?
That's regular.
Is that because it's a state?
The state has no distance requirement between. Yep, the state of
okay.
Tennessee has no distance requirement.
Wow, that's just
local
crazy.
governments have distance requirements. Most local governments in Middle Tennessee do in some form or fashion. Or if they don't have a distance requirement, they look at it on a case by case basis and say, okay. I mean, I don't know what the factors are that they consider, but I presume, and if you'll allow me some leeway here, I would presume that they look at, okay, well, do your people go in and out that way, or do they go in and out this way? Do you have outdoor seating? What's, how would we don't, I mean, we had that discussion last night. We don't prefer that approach at all. I don't think it's a legally preferable approach because you could really get into beer board members change, things like that. And so what someone thinks is interference may not be, someone else may not think is interference later. And so you can get into, again, not interpreting or applying the regulations the same way. So, but yeah, that's why. I mean, that's exactly. So the state, and that's the same with this prospective business, is they could set up shop tomorrow right next to a church and serve whiskey
That is so
and wine
crazy.
and high gravity beer. So they can still serve beer. It just has to be high gravity beer because the state of Tennessee regulates that, and they have preempted and retained the authority to regulate that. And it's wild. It's a wild scenario, but that's
I'm just that's on my radar because I don't have Instagram. Oh, I mean, I used to, but haven't been on it in years. But somebody had told me that whiskey place had drag queen pictures up on their Instagram. And I thought, oh boy, are they going to have drag shows like right across the street when all these kids are doing lessons, Now, I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying that I heard that and I was like, wow, it doesn't seem like a good thing for Springfield.
I haven't heard that at all,
Okay,
so I don't know. I haven't been in there and haven't heard that.
Okay, good. All right. So what else? We got a few minutes left.
Okay, well, a few more things I'll finish up. So the airport, the Springfield Robertson County Airport. First of all, for anyone that hasn't been there, they should visit the airport terminal that opened a couple of years ago. It's a beautiful terminal. You can sit. It's very welcoming. You can sit in the lobby there and watch planes take off. If you say, well, there are no planes taking off at the Springfield Robertson County Airport, you would be wrong. And I don't like to tell people they're wrong, but I'll gladly tell them they're wrong on that. There were 1,400 takeoffs and landings in the month of February.
Wow.
So over 1,400, maybe over 1,800. I think 1,400 was the January number. I think 1,800 might have been the February number. So you can't go out to the airport and not see several planes, land and take off. And so they call them operations. An aircraft operation is a takeoff or a landing. And so they were, they're pushing 2,000 operations a month out there, which is phenomenal. So the airport, for those, I was meeting with somebody out there who grew up in Springfield but doesn't live here anymore, and they couldn't believe. They said, when I was a kid and lived here, he said, this was just every once in a while somebody would take off and land, and there was not really anything going on. It was just recreational. Well, now there's a lot of corporate traffic. There's a lot of recreational traffic, but there's flight school traffic. There's a lot of traffic that takes place out there. There's actually a Gulfstream G650 that lands out there, which is a $50 million plane.
Wow.
For that's owned by a holding company that owns one of the local factories here in town. So it's a beautiful plane. We all aspire to travel that way, and maybe one day we'll get to. But so the airport has a lot of things going on. Last night, the board considered a recommendation from them to pursue a public-private partnership to expand the hangars out there. So they're working on a hangar construction project where they would have 30, because there's a waiting list. So we have a huge demand at our airport, and we have a waiting list of over 30 people. And so there's a proposal to expand and build 30 new hangars at the airport, but do it through a public-private partnership, which would save taxpayer money. And the ins and outs of that are, and no city and county money would go towards that construction project. And of course, those would be rented out. And so that would be a net neutral, hopefully, situation for the airport board. And so the city our board did pass that last night, or give affirmation to that resolution that the airport board passed to pursue that route. because obviously if it doesn't use any taxpayer money, then that's ideal. Plus, it would generate economic activity at the airport. So that was one. Also, the board approved last night the final agreements for the tax increment financing arrangement for New Urban Development Corporation, which is the company that is building the Chick-fil-A store. So for those that remember, last summer we approved a tax increment financing arrangement for them for their infrastructure. There's a lot of storm water drainage work that has to be done on that site. It's a great location where they're going at the corner of Watson and Tom Austin. The problem is it's a bowl, so it's a great location. It's a bad site. So there's a great amount of work that has to go into that site to make it usable and work from a drainage perspective. And so they approached us about a tax increment financing. For those that are unaware, it's not an abatement of property taxes. It's not an abatement of sales taxes. There's actually no property tax or sales tax money that will go towards the building of the Chick-fil-A. In fact, we will gain a lot of property tax and sales tax money from the Chick-fil-A once it's built. The tax increment financing uses it's a mechanism that uses the increment in the increase, so we will still collect the same amount of property taxes on the property. So it's a great tool that benefits both the local government and its citizens, as well as the company that's doing the development, and helps with some work. So
very good. I need to do one more commercial break before this show is over, so let me cue up Barry and...
If you're needing help in the real estate community, whether it's buying or selling, maybe you want to be a realtor, my friends Barry and Rebecca Richards are there to help you. No matter what side of the table you're sitting on, or if you want to come in and you need to be mentored by somebody, they are a great team to work with, the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Barry and Rebecca, they've been at this a long time. Barry has a marketing background, which makes it extra special when he comes to help you, because if you've got property that maybe people are not really taking a good look at, you may need some new pictures, you may need some drone footage, or just some kind of videography done to make sure your property pops when people go to see it. Rebecca, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. That means she's studying to make sure she's got everything covered for you. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Talk to them today, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. And as always, please let them know U-Turn sent you.
All right, and that was U-Turn Laverne. This is Lee Marie filling in for U-Turn Laverne, and we just had Ryan Martin on from the city of Springfield. We appreciate you coming in and giving us all those awesome updates.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you having us. And check out our website, springfieldteam.gov, for all of our social media channels. We have a new public affairs coordinator who's running
It's
our
always a
social
great day
media,
to check out Corbin Creek
Natasha
Greenhouse
Tighe.
Gifts and Gardening Center now.
Laverne or have to have her on sometime.
Awesome, and thank you too. You know, you guys should be congratulated for the amazing job that you did do with the storms and keeping everybody safe. So thank you so much for all your efforts. All right, we're going to make the switch over now, and you've been listening to 1100 WSGI. Stay tuned, because coming up next will be the Go Show. Just in a couple minutes, and we do have Shannon Baumgartner coming on, so we hope that you will join us for that. This has been Lee Marie on One Street Over, and I'm going to be starting the Go Show coming up real soon, so hope to see you guys for that too.
One street over, there's a life I could have known. One beyond my wildest dreams.